Hi everybody, welcome to another segment of Back in My Day. So this is going to be an episode about a lot of restaurants that I remember as a kid that might not be around anymore, or the food that they used to have isn't around anymore. And as you see, I am wrapped in a blanket. It is because it is very cold outside and me and winter do not mix. But other than that, let's continue. Let's get on to the main topic of this. So, the first restaurant I'm going to talk about was a place in what is now Disney Springs, used to be called Downtown Disney, and the restaurant was called Captain Jack's. Literally, we would go to Captain Jack's because they had the best clam chowder. I don't need all this fancy stuff in my clam chowder. People now add bacon. Bacon gives me reflux. And every time I'm like, no bacon, please. They're like, oh my God, are you American? Yes, I am American. I just don't want reflux. I don't want to die. And maybe that'll be a different video for like life lessons or something. But right now, it was just good clam chowder. It had the taste. It had like enough clams in there. It had the seafood, it had the vegetables. It was very I like a thick chowder. I don't like the soupy kind. That's a soup at that point, not a chowder. And as you can see, I'm very passionate about my food. You got to make it correctly. If you don't, there's a problem here. Honestly, we would just go and we'd be like, sit us down, please. And they would sit us down and they'd be like, what would you like to drink? Well, I think we're ready to order too. And so, yeah, all we would want is our clam chowder. My dad would probably get something else because like he's a garbage disposal and can eat anything. But we would be like, clam chowder, please. That is what we want. That's what we came here for. And literally, I can't even remember the last time that was open. I'm going to say I was like 10 or 12, but my grandparents were headed down there and they wanted to eat at Captain Jack's. My grandmother doesn't like seafood, but she would like eat something else there. My grandfather does. And they went down there and yeah, like Captain Jack's was closed. They're like, yeah, like we're closed permanently, whatever. And my grandparents were like, well, now where are we going to eat? Because at this time, Downtown Disney didn't have like a ton of restaurants. And I think too, they were starting to do their development for Disney Springs. So there wasn't the array of restaurants as there is today. And so they had to try and figure out where they were going to eat. If I remember correctly, from what my grandparents told me and from what my parents have said, where Captain Jack's was where the boathouse is now, if I remember correctly. There was also a Fulton's Crab House where the boathouse is, so I don't know how accurate that is, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but Captain Jack's had some banging clam chowder, mind you. The next restaurant I want to talk about is going to be Boatwrights. So this restaurant's still around, but they're missing the best meal that they had. So, and honestly, God, this might just be a Disney one at this point. All the ones I have currently are just Disney ones. So we might do a different one about other restaurants like around later. But Boatwrights had the best breakfast. It was for a decent price, and it seemed like the breakfast, more effort was put into it than the dinner. And so let me try to explain that. So at breakfast, they had, they knew what they were doing with their eggs. I would get, before they had, I wouldn't say like Mickey waffles weren't around, but I was more of a pancake person when I was a kid. So they would like shape these pancakes for me, and then I would get, like a meat or fruit or whatever. And I would even sometimes have a taste of my parents' breakfast. And that is always where we went. I remember staying at the Port Orleans like once. And so we would literally drive to Port Orleans or make our way there to eat at Boatwrights because their breakfast was so good. And I can compare that to their dinner that they used to have. Well, they still have dinner, but when I was a kid, the dinner was not as good. I think now that opinion has changed. I haven't been there recently, but I've heard, like other reviewers and other people talk about it. And I've heard it's better now. However, there's also like better places to go for dinner. Which if you're also on a budget, Boatwrights might be your best place too. But yeah, their breakfast by far was the best. And I miss actually going to their souvenir shops and seeing what they had. Because there was the bar and then the souvenir shop was like right next to it. So we could go looking around if we wanted to while we were waiting. And then another thing I kind of miss that Disney used to have is at one of their festivals, I was with my grandparents. And I think I was around like 9. And there was the Morocco stand. And literally it just said like Moroccan meatballs. I could not tell you what all was on the plate. I just remember Moroccan meatballs. I think they were lamb. And my grandmother, she is the pickiest eater. She was like, "You're not gonna like that." I'm like, "Well, I think I am gonna like it. It sounds good." So I tried it and oh my God, that was like the best thing I've ever had. And I was upset because the next time I would go to the food and wine festivals, it was never there. I'm like, it was the first time they had them. And it was like a, one chance, I guess, one stop offer for Moroccan meatballs. I also miss, there was a McDonald's in downtown Disney. Now, mind you, after a while I stopped eating at McDonald's. I only went in so then I could get like a shake or something. So then I could watch like old Disney cartoons. That is something I miss the most, is like the older cartoons that they used to have. The design to me, it's my opinion, is better than the new ones. I don't like how they've, done the new design. I mean, I think it's more like to be energetic and just to try like a new animation style, which is fine, like go for it. I prefer though the older animation and like the older cartoons. And so, watching those I really enjoyed, because it really felt like you were at the essence of Disney. But now it's not there anymore. I think there's a new McDonald's though. I'm not sure if they have the cartoons or not, because a couple of them used to play them. And it's the big solar powered one now that they have. And it just got done like when COVID started, essentially. And so I cannot tell you if, that one still does it or not. I think in the old building before it was like solar powered and they got the new design, they used to play the cartoons, but I don't know about now. And so like those are a couple restaurants that I know specifically in Disney. We'll talk about other ones, like I said, probably in a different episode, that I miss, or foods that I miss from some of these restaurants that I kind of wish they would bring back, or, take something and, put a little flair into it, making it a little better, whether it's at a different restaurant or, maybe incorporating it, some of these elements somewhere else, Well, I'll talk to you all later. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me if, you remember any of these restaurants. If you know at all what I'm talking about. Are there some restaurants you miss? Are there things that you wish some restaurants would bring back? Because some places do change their menu quite frequently. And it's kind of upsetting because you find something you love and then it's no longer there. And it's kind of sad. But feel free to leave a comment down below, subscribe if you'd like, and I will talk to you all later.